The photo was posted at 2:17 on a Tuesday afternoon. It showed a hotel balcony above the Caribbean. White curtains, blue water, 2 champagne glasses on a small table, and in the reflection of the glass door, behind the bride and groom, was my wife. Alice was wearing a hotel robe, standing beside the groom's older brother. She had told me she was flying to Aruba to help her best friend recover from a difficult wedding weekend. She had not told me she would be staying in the honeymoon suite. My name is Ben Carter. I'm 39 years old, and I work as a logistics manager outside Columbus, Ohio. I spend most of my days solving problems that can be measured. A shipment is late, a warehouse is short on inventory, a truck breaks down 2 counties away. You identify the problem, you find the record, and you make a decision before the entire system starts collapsing around you. I used to believe marriage worked the same way. You noticed something wrong, you asked the right questions, the person you trusted answered honestly. Then you adjusted together. Alice and I had been married for 11 years. She was 37, worked as a communications director for a nonprofit arts foundation, and had a way of making ordinary things feel planned. Sunday dinner, a rainy afternoon, a grocery trip that should have taken 20 minutes but somehow became an hour because she wanted to compare olive oils. She was warm, organized, thoughtful. Or at least, that was the version of her I had been living with. Her best friend's name was Hannah Morgan. Alice and Hannah had known each other since college at Ohio State. They had been roommates for 2 years, bridesmaids in each other's weddings, and the kind of friends who knew every old version of one another. Hannah had married Daniel Morgan, Daniel Reed, then, on a Saturday in early June. The wedding itself had been beautiful, if a little tense. There had been rain during the outdoor ceremony. The florist had mixed up part of the order. Hannah's mother had cried before anyone even walked down the aisle. Daniel's father made a toast that went on too long. Nothing unusual, just the familiar chaos of 2 families trying to turn one afternoon into a perfect memory. Alice was Hannah's maid of honor. She wore a pale blue dress, gave a speech that made half the room cry, and spent most of the night checking whether Hannah had eaten anything. I remember watching her from across the reception hall and feeling lucky. That detail matters to me now, because betrayal rarely begins on the day you suspect it. It begins much earlier, while you are standing in a room full of people, feeling grateful for something that has already started slipping away. 3 days after the wedding, Alice told me Hannah was having a difficult time. We were in our kitchen. I was packing leftovers into containers. Alice was leaning against the counter, still tired from the wedding weekend. Hannah called me, she said. She's overwhelmed. On her honeymoon? She and Daniel have been arguing, Alice said. Nothing serious, just wedding stress, family stress. You know how much pressure she was under. I nodded. Alice looked down at her phone. She asked if I could come out for a few days, she said, just to help her decompress. She says she feels trapped in a resort with everyone expecting her to be happy every second. Everyone? Her cousin Marissa is there for the first 2 days. Daniel's brother Nathan is staying at the same resort, I think. It's complicated. I looked at her. His brother is on their honeymoon? Alice gave a small, tired smile. Not with them, at the resort. He had points, or a separate trip or something. I don't know. Hannah was explaining it quickly. There were a dozen places in that conversation where I could have asked another question. Why did Hannah need Alice specifically? Why did Alice need to leave the next morning? Why would Daniel's brother be at the same resort during a honeymoon? But after 11 years, you do not interrogate every inconsistency. You assume context exists. You assume the person in front of you will give it to you when it matters. So I said, if she needs you, go. Alice crossed the kitchen and kissed my cheek. I knew you'd understand, she said. The next morning, she left for the airport before sunrise. Her suitcase was bigger than it needed to be for 4 days. I noticed that. I also noticed that she packed the white linen shirt she wore only on vacations, the one she had bought in Charleston 2 years earlier. But I told myself people pack strange things when they're stressed. That was the first lie I told myself. The second came later. On Tuesday afternoon, I was in my office reviewing a delayed freight report when my phone buzzed. It was an Instagram notification. Marissa Cole had tagged Alice in a story. I knew Marissa only loosely. She was Hannah's cousin. 26, outgoing, always posting everything: airport lounges, coffee cups, sunsets, meals, people who had not agreed to be photographed. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the first frame, a balcony overlooking turquoise water, the words, "First morning as Mr. and Mrs. Reed." The next frame was a photo of Hannah and Daniel standing together in front of the balcony doors. Hannah held a champagne flute, Daniel had his arm around her shoulders, and behind them, in the reflection, I saw Alice. At first I thought she was simply in the room. Then I looked again. She had wet hair, a white hotel robe, bare feet on the tile floor, and beside her stood Nathan Reed, Daniel's older brother. He was holding what looked like Alice's phone. They were close enough that neither of them seemed aware of the reflection. I stared at that picture for a full minute. Then I saved it. I did not call Alice. I did not message Hannah. I did not send the picture to anyone. I opened our shared travel account. Alice and I had used one airline rewards account for years. We had built up points through work trips, family vacations, a cancelled anniversary flight during the pandemic, and more credit card purchases than I was proud to admit. We had always treated those points as shared, a little account for the future. Italy someday, Alice used to say. Or Vancouver, or just somewhere we could disappear for a week without checking our phones. The account showed that Alice had redeemed 48,000 points for a round-trip flight to Aruba, not last minute, not after Hannah called. The booking had been made 19 days earlier, 19 days before the wedding, 19 days before Alice stood in a pale blue dress and toasted Hannah and Daniel's future, 19 days before she stood in our kitchen and told me she was flying out to help a friend. I looked at the booking details again. The passenger name was Alice Carter. The itinerary was booked on the same flight as Nathan Reed. There are moments when the body understands something before the mind agrees to name it. My hands went cold. The office around me stayed normal. Phones rang. Someone laughed near the break room. A printer made its usual grinding sound. And I sat at my desk looking at a date, a flight number, and two names. Alice Carter, Nathan Reed, same flight, same destination. I called our credit card company next. I didn't accuse anyone of fraud. I asked a simple question. Can you tell me whether there were any travel purchases made in Aruba during the last 48 hours? There were. A room service charge at Coral Bay Resort, a couple's spa package, dinner at a restaurant called the Tide Room, all placed on the card linked to our household account. The card was in Alice's name. I sat there for a while, breathing slowly. Then I noticed something else. The hotel room number on the dinner receipt was 1408. I searched the resort website. Room 1408 was not a standard room. It was the oceanfront honeymoon suite, the same suite Hannah and Daniel had posted from. I did not know yet whether Hannah knew. That became the only question that mattered, because if Hannah knew, then she had chosen to be part of something ugly. But if she didn't know, then she was standing inside a lie that had been arranged around her, just as I was. I called Daniel. He answered on the fourth ring. "Ben," he said, surprised. "Everything okay?" "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Sure. How's Aruba?" There was a pause, not a long one. "Good," he said, "really good. Hannah's finally relaxing." "Is Alice helping?" Another pause. This one was longer. "What do you mean?" I looked at the photo on my phone. "She flew out to see Hannah, that's what she told me." Daniel sounded confused. "Ben," Hannah said Alice couldn't make it. She said work got busy. I closed my eyes. "Is Nathan there?" I asked. Daniel exhaled. "Yeah, he booked a separate room. He said he needed a break after the wedding." I thought it was weird, but Nathan does weird things. "Is he staying with you?" "No," Daniel said. "He's in another building." "Why?" I said the only honest thing I could say without detonating someone else's life over the phone. "I'll explain soon." Then I ended the call. Alice came home 2 days later. She walked in at 7:40 that evening, rolling her suitcase behind her. She was sunburned across the bridge of her nose. She smelled like airport coffee and a perfume I knew she did not own. She smiled when she saw me. "Hey," she said. "I missed you." I stood up from the couch. "How was Hannah?" Alice set her bag down. "Better. She just needed someone." "Did she?" Alice looked at me. Something small changed in her face. Not panic, not yet, just a pause. "Why are you asking like that?" I picked up my phone and held it out to her. The photograph was open. Alice's expression did not collapse dramatically. There was no gasp, no dropped suitcase, no confession delivered in a single perfect sentence. She just became still. "I can explain," she said. "Did Hannah know you were there?" Alice looked down. That was my answer. Did Daniel know? Her eyes filled with tears. Ben, did Nathan? She sat down slowly on the edge of the chair across from me. "I didn't plan it this way." "What way?" She covered her face with both hands. "It started before the wedding," she said. "Not like you think. Nathan and I were talking. He understood things about me that you don't." I remember that sentence more clearly than any other, not because it was original, because it was so ordinary. A person can break your trust in 100 different ways, but when they finally explain it, the explanation is often painfully familiar. "You used our points," I said. "I was going to replace them. You used our card." I panicked. "You stayed in Hannah's honeymoon suite." Alice looked at me through her fingers. "Hannah and Daniel went on an excursion that day. Nathan and I just came by. It wasn't—" "Stop." My voice was quiet, but she stopped. I sat across from her and looked at the person I had built 11 years of routines around. "You lied to Hannah," I said. "You lied to Daniel. You lied to me, and you used our life to finance it." Alice started crying. "I didn't want to hurt anyone." "Then you should have started by telling the truth." She slept in the guest room that night. I slept very little. The next morning, Alice told me Hannah and Daniel were hosting a family brunch that Sunday. It was meant to be a relaxed post-honeymoon gathering. Just parents, siblings, a few cousins, and close friends. Alice said she didn't want to go. I told her I understood. Then I said, "I'm going." She looked at me as if I had slapped her. "You can't," she whispered. "I can. You'll ruin everything." I thought about Hannah smiling in a honeymoon photo while her husband's brother stood behind her with my wife. I thought about Daniel asking me what I meant because he honestly had no idea Alice was there. "No," I said. "I'm going to stop pretending that silence is kindness." The brunch was held at Hannah's parents' house in Dublin, Ohio. It was warm outside. Her father had grilled chicken. Someone had set out fruit salad, bagels, coffee, and a tray of pastries from a bakery in town. Everyone was trying very hard to behave like this was a normal Sunday. Hannah was laughing near the kitchen island. Daniel was opening a bottle of sparkling water. Nathan stood near the back patio door, scrolling through his phone. Alice arrived separately and stayed near the driveway. She did not come inside. I waited until Hannah and Daniel were alone in the small sunroom beside the kitchen. Then I asked if we could talk privately. Hannah looked worried immediately. Daniel looked at my face and nodded. I closed the door behind us. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then I placed my phone on the table between them. "I'm sorry," I said. "I wish I didn't have to show you this." Hannah looked at the screen first. Daniel leaned closer. The photograph was still there. The balcony, the champagne, the reflection. Alice, Nathan. Hannah blinked twice. Then she looked at Daniel. "What is this?" Daniel's face changed as he understood it. "I didn't know," he said. "I know," I told him. Hannah picked up the phone with shaking hands. "She said she couldn't come," Hannah whispered. "Alice told me she had a crisis at work." Daniel sat down. His face had gone pale. "Nathan said he was in Building C," he said. "He said he barely saw anyone." Hannah stared at the image for a long time. Then she asked the question I had been waiting for. "Did they?" I didn't answer with more than I knew. I know they traveled together. I know Alice used our shared points. I know they charged things to our card. I know she was in your suite while you believed she was somewhere else. Hannah nodded slowly. Tears moved down her face, but she did not make a sound. "I'm sorry," I said again. "I don't understand," she said. "She was my best friend." Daniel reached for her hand. She let him take it. Outside the sunroom, people were still laughing. Someone dropped a spoon in the kitchen. A child ran past the door. That is one of the cruel things about bad news. The world does not pause to give it the respect it thinks it deserves. Hannah looked up at me. "Does everyone know?" "No," I said. "I told only you two." "Why?" I thought about that for a second. "Because the truth belongs to the people whose lives it changes," I said. "Not to an audience." Daniel stood and walked toward the patio. I could see Nathan through the glass door. For a moment, Daniel simply looked at his brother. Then he opened the door. "Nathan," he said. The tone of his voice was quiet. But Nathan looked up immediately. He saw Daniel's face, then mine, then the phone in Hannah's hand. He knew. Alice was still outside near the driveway. She must have seen something through the front window, because she came inside just as Nathan took one step back. "Ben," she said, her voice cracked. "Please." I looked at her. The kitchen had gone silent now. Hannah's mother had noticed. Daniel's father had put down his plate. Everyone was watching without understanding why. I did not raise my voice. I did not play the video of Alice crying. I did not list the charges on our card. I did not explain every detail to a room full of relatives. That would not have been justice. It would have been performance. Alice walked toward me, tears moving down her face. "You've destroyed everything," she said. I looked at Hannah, at Daniel, at the people who had spent the last week celebrating a marriage that had been treated like background scenery by two people who were supposed to protect it. Then I looked back at Alice. "No," I said. "I just refused to be the only person who didn't know the truth." Nobody spoke after that. Daniel asked Nathan to leave. Hannah asked Alice to leave, and I walked out through the front door alone. The divorce took 9 months. Not because Alice fought me at every step. She didn't. I think, once the lies were visible, she was too tired to keep building new ones. We sold the house. We closed the shared travel account. The points that were supposed to take us to Italy disappeared into the same pile as everything else. Things we once believed belonged to a future we would share. Hannah and Daniel stayed together. That surprised people, but they had not betrayed one another. They had been lied to by people outside their marriage. And instead of letting that lie become another silence between them, they talked. They went to counseling. They rebuilt slowly. I heard that Hannah eventually forgave Alice in the distant, complicated way people sometimes forgive someone who has hurt them deeply. But they were never friends again. Some relationships do not end with a fight. They end with the moment you realize you no longer feel safe telling someone the good news first. As for me, I moved into a small apartment near the river. For the first few months, I hated it. The walls were too white. The kitchen was too quiet. I had one chair at a table built for 4. But then I started sleeping again. I started cooking meals that did not come from a delivery bag. I started taking Sunday mornings back. And one morning, almost a year after that photograph appeared on my phone, I checked my airline account. I had enough new points for a flight. Not Italy. Not yet. But somewhere. Somewhere that belonged only to me. That was the first time I understood that losing the future you planned does not mean you lose every future after it. Sometimes it just means you finally stop spending your life paying for someone else's lie. And when I look back at that photo now, I no longer see the moment my marriage ended. I see the moment the truth stopped asking for permission to be seen.
Blasting by morning coffee. Dashboard hums with distant voices. Breaths echo, tension in my jaw. Loose bills, keys tangle, side pockets worn thin. Phone chirps with questions I might never answer. Sun cuts through tinted regrets. Plans rerouted, fingerprints on last night's receipt. Old names flare and brief notification. We trade honesty for comfort, one laugh at a time. Counting all the reasons I keep moving. Borrowed peace burned behind plastic lenses. I frame each mistake with silence. My stride, stubborn glaze with intent. If you see me, let me pass. Truth ride, shotgun and doubt fills the trunk. Every glance it tests. I'm just a story behind tinted glass. Rolling out no map, no warning. No warning. New clothes, old habits, jacket heavy with memory. She leans laugh too loud so her won't catch up. Promises undone by sunrise. Caffeine worship receipts for feeling spent. Empty benches and inside jokes. We keep moving before history gets too close. Eyes closed, engine whispers are there. Questions line the edge of tomorrow. Heard my own conviction in distant street noise. Whole sketches routes the GPS can't find. Let the wheel spell out my secrets. Splinters of truth on passing signs. I'm searching for a reason that feels like skin. If you notice, don't look back. Windows down, new day waiting. Steps echoing fresh concrete. Nothing on, nothing left beyond. Just a distance and the will to be